Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. If you were to ask 10 people of the first artist to push reggae into global reckoning, 5 of them would likely say Bob Marley, 4 might mention Jimmy Cliff, and 1 would say Desmond Dekker, who backed the first #1 reggae track in many countries. But I dare say that all 10 people would be wrong. You might be slightly correct to mention Millie Small, who rocked the world with My Boy Lollipop in 1964, but despite her exploits, the music was still regarded as a novelty sound. The unlikely answer to this question is a handsome and smooth-voiced singer-stroke-actor from Houston, Texas named Johnny Nash. This remarkable American artist was already a household name as a pop singer, albeit a declining one, when he moved to Jamaica in the mid-1960s, soaked up the island's vibrant culture, and emerged as a rocksteady-stroke-reggae artist. That move to the island not only changed his life but saved his career, as he would make a stunning comeback with songs that broke the global charts back-to-back. His chart success would cement the acceptance of reggae internationally and pave the way for Desmond Dekker, Jimmy Cliff, and eventually Bob Marley soon after. And speaking of Bob Marley, Johnny Nash managed the Tough Gong for 5 years, and both men enjoyed a mutually beneficial relationship that boosted the American success and helped groom Bob Marley into the finished product that would be engaged by Island Records. It's been way overdue, but now let's take a look at the story of Johnny Nash, reggae's first global ambassador. John Lester Nash Jr. was born in Houston, Texas, to a limo driver father and a housewife mother on August 9, 1940. And growing up, he was the archetype all-American kid. He was bright-eyed, good-looking, sweet-mannered, and a well-behaved boy. He attended the Progressive New Hope Baptist Church in Houston with his family and joined the choir before the age of 10. He quickly became renowned for his smooth, wonderful voice and would wow audiences at several talent shows all around the city. He made his first break into the music business entirely by accident while on a holiday job at the age of 13. Johnny was working as a caddy at a golf course for a retired businessman named Frank Stockton. Stockton had heard Johnny sing while playing, and after his game was done, he would urge the kid to sing for him and his friends at the clubhouse. And when he did, Stockton was so impressed that he arranged an audition for Johnny for a local TV show, and the teenager aced it and got the part, appearing on that station called KPRC's weekly matinee show, and was such a hit that he would also appear on Arthur Godfrey's TV and radio programs. And by the age of 13, he was already making more money than his dad, singing on these shows after school every day. His TV and radio exploits got record companies interested soon after, and in 1956, he released his first single titled A Teenager Sings the Blues, though that song didn't go anywhere. But 2 years later, he bagged his first hit with a track called A Very Special Love. He was emerging among America's teen idols, a group led by the likes of Elvis Presley and Frankie Lyman, when he branched out into movies and films in 1959 before returning to music in 1961. But while his smooth pop style had worked wonders in the 1950s, rock and roll took over America in the 1960s, and his squeaky clean image and love ballads will see him slip into irrelevance as the market will gravitate toward bad boy rockers. And soon after, Johnny moved to New York and by 1963 began to work on making theme songs for television stations. It was in the Big Apple that he met his eventual manager and business partner, Danny Sims. Sims was a restaurant owner and entertainment jack of all trades. Johnny had been a frequent patron at his restaurant, and the pair became friends and eventual business partners and formed a label called Jad Records. Johnny's singing career had all but died, and Danny Sims, who had links to the New York Mafia, increasingly came under pressure and scrutiny by the FBI. Both men had hit rock bottom and were badly in need of a timeout and a fresh start, and Sweet Jamaica proved to be that saving grace. In those trying times, Johnny had fallen in love with Caribbean music while dating a Jamaican girl in New York and got the powerful urge to go to Jamaica. Incidentally, his girlfriend was related to popular Jamaican radio and TV host Neville Willoughby. So in 1965, Nash and Sims moved down to Jamaica, and soon after arrival, they were given a large home in the hills by Jamaican record executive Ken Curry of Federal Records, who at the time was the owner of the only recording studio in Jamaica. And it was soon after their arrival that Federal Records recorded a song by an artist called Hopton Lewis called Take It Easy. It became a massive hit and would be celebrated as the first rocksteady track. Nash fell in love with rocksteady as he felt that sound was perfect for his style and voice. And over the next 2 years, Nash immersed himself in the music and culture until a chance meeting would signal the next phase in his career. In January 1967, Neville Willoughby took Johnny Nash to a Rastafarian event in Trenchtown, where he witnessed a phenomenal young singer with a guitar that blew his mind big time, and he would introduce himself to that singer and rush back home to tell Danny Sims what he had just seen. He told Sims that he had met a potential superstar called Bob Marley and said they had to sign him to their label. That youngster was part of a trio called the Wailers, and he had invited him and his group to come for breakfast the next day. So the next morning, Bob showed up with Peter, his wife Rita, and Mortimer Plano, and Bob would jam on his guitar and sang plenty of songs for Nash and Sims. And on the spot, the Wailers began a professional relationship with Jazz Records. The Wailers would record many songs for Jazz Records, but also had the job of writing songs for Nash. And in 1968, Johnny would record the songs that would make up his first rocksteady album called Hold Me Tight, that featured the arrangement and genius guitar playing of Lynn Tate. And upon release in that year, it would mark Johnny Nash's comeback, a whole 10 years since he last had a hit song or record. Two of the songs on that album, named You Got Soul and the album title Hold Me Tight, that were written by Peter Tosh, would become smash hits. You Got Soul in particular was a monster that not only rocked dance floors around the globe, but reached number 5 on the UK singles charts that year. Its winning formula would be replicated and slightly copied by Desmond Decker's producer Leslie Kong. And soon after, Decker's single Israelites was released and became an even bigger hit that went to number 1 in several countries abroad. Hold Me Tight as well would also reach number 6 in the UK, reach number 1 in Canada, and number 5 in the US. The collaboration with the Wailers grew, and in 1970, Nash, who had been cast in a movie in Sweden, took Bob along to work on that movie's soundtrack. In 1971, Nash began work on his next album titled I Can See Clearly Now, and included tracks that were written by Bob Marley, like Comma Comma, Guava Jelly, and Stir It Up. Stir It Up would do well in the UK charts and reach number 12 in the US, which was then a very difficult market for reggae to crack. But the biggest track of that album was I Can See Clearly Now, which reached number 1 in the US and number 5 in the UK in 1972. But while Johnny's career was soaring, the Wailers seemed to be stalling, and even a tour of the UK with Nash would fail to ignite their careers. It was during that period that the Wailers, hungry and broke, would meet up with Chris Blackwell in London and make the famous deal to record the Catch a Fire album. Island Records would buy out the Wailers' contract from Jazz Records, and the trio would go on to become breakout successes and household names. The relationship between Johnny Nash and Bob Marley came to an end, but in the end, it had been a huge and mutually beneficial one. Johnny Nash, for one, had imbibed the vibes and priceless reggae rhythms which had revived his career, and Bob, on the other hand, had honed his craft by working with the polished, world-renowned artists and had obtained international experience and exposure that would help make him a superstar. But quite ironically, as the Wailers star was exploding, Johnny, on the other hand, began to shy away from the limelight, and he would soon after end his partnership with Danny Sims and move back to Houston in 1974 to live a quiet life. He bought a large ranch and got married to a lady called Carly Collins, and for the next few years he would release music and bag some hits here and there. But by 1980 he had basically quit recording new music. However, he made a modest comeback in 1986 with the album Here Again, and that album's most successful single, Rock Me Baby, reached the top 10 in 4 European countries. And from there on, he would totally shun the spotlight, even refusing to do interviews, and focus totally on his family, church activities, and local charity causes. A keen horse rider himself, he built the Johnny Nash Indoor Arena in Houston, which hosted rodeos and horse rides, a place that gave the lesser privileged youth the opportunity to get horse rides that they normally wouldn't be able to afford. And he lived a quiet life until he passed away on October 6, 2020 of natural causes. The great Johnny Nash went down as the first reggae artist to go international. His success in that genre may not have been anywhere near the level of the likes of Bob Marley or Jimmy Cliff, who would come after him, but truly, Nash was the first to take it global. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.